I grew up not far from where we are doing this video in northern Miami Beach. I grew up first in South Beach very briefly, and by the age of 7 we were living up here in the North Beach area of Miami Beach. I spent several years in that neighborhood. You know, well, I lived there for my entire childhood. And it was interesting. When did I first become aware of art? I'm not quite 100% sure when I became aware of it, but I do know that at a certain point, and I'm going to think about this as we're talking about it, I remember at a certain point being aware of the fact that I was not surrounded by art. I remember thinking, this city lacks. There's nothing here for me. But I do remember one thing, and it wasn't like, I remember taking a painting class. What I do remember is that as a young child, I drew. I drew and I drew and I drew. So probably it was like children's picture books that introduced me to the idea that there was such a thing as art. Because I remember having children's picture books and drawing in them, around them, and then being aware that there was not much around here. I remember I remember the Bass Art Museum and thinking, it's weird, what's going on here, you know? And but one very strong memory I have, I was older already by then. I was already in college, and of course I was deeply in at that moment. I remember coming back to Miami on one of my many visits to Miami and walking, this is like the late 70s, I would say, walking along Ocean Avenue. And remember, I grew up, Ocean Drive, I think it is. I grew up down there to begin with, and that was just like a rundown place. But I remember at a certain point, like being 20 or 22 and walking around there and going, oh my God, look at this trove of historic buildings. Somebody's going to figure this out one day. You know, I'm going to buy one of these hotels. Of course, I hadn't have 2 nickels to rub together, but I saw that treasure then.